Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. We conclude the stakes-laden Saturday card at Gulfstream Park with 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the turf in the $75,000 Tropical Park Derby. Lots of stakes action to discuss this week, and you can bet all of those races with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, receive a 300% deposit match. Let's take a look at this bulky field of 3-year-olds in the Tropical Park Derby. It's a fairly wide open race, Mike. Your morning line favorite is a New York bred, the number 11 Therapist, who's dropping out of the Grade 3 Saranac Stakes at Saratoga. There are a couple of things to be concerned about with Therapist. One is the 3.5-month layoff. Two is the lousy outside post position. But on his best day, if he gets a trip, Therapist is a major contender in this spot.
Yeah, he's a pretty good horse, and you're right about his last race, the Saranac. You know, he never got really into a position to run in that race, just sort of wide the entire way, could never get a position. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen this horse run. I would just point out that it's not there's any issue with him. He's been entered several times with all the weather we've had in New York. He just hasn't gotten a chance to run. I'm assuming he's in good shape and in good form. I like him as a horse. That I wonder what kind of trip he gets from post 11.
It'll be interesting to see if he could get covered up. He's a versatile enough horse, and it really could be dependent on how fast they're going. If they stretch this field out, maybe Tyler Gaffalione can get close to the rail, because I think that's key. I don't think Therapist is the kind of horse that's going to overcome a ton of adversity in a well-matched field. I do think he'll drift a little bit off the 7-2 morning line. Let's talk about a horse that I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up the favorite. That's the 4, Breaking the Rules for Shug McGahee. They've put blinkers on, they've switched him to turf, and this horse has really improved. He got a nice trip last time out at Belmont, but I love the way he rolled by the field late.
Yeah, me too. He was really impressive in that race. This is a horse who was good on dirt to start his career, but he's really taken it to a different level since they switched him over to grass and gotten a little distance under him. Obviously, he's a war front. He's bred for this. Even his turf debut down at Saratoga, end of that meet, he ran a little bit better than it looks that day. That was a race where there was a loose horse in that race, and Breaking the Rules wound up behind that horse. You could just sort of see Irad Ortiz not wanting to go anywhere near that horse. I think it really affected this horse's late run. He came back last time, and yes, the trip was perfect, but he really ran through the stretch. This horse has upped his game big time.
He draws a comfortable inside post, and according to Timeform US, should have plenty of pace to attack when it counts. The Timeform pace projector is a red bar indicating they believe the pace will be fast. The pace might be set by the number 9, CV, who won at Gulfstream way back in February in gate-to-wire fashion. But in that race, he was able to shake loose through the second quarter mile and get an important breather. It might not happen here with the 5 and 7 breathing down his neck.
Yeah, it seems like there might be a little bit too much speed in this race for him. He's won 3 times in his career. All 3 of those wins, 2 on turf, 1 on a sloppy main track, where he was just able to get control of the pace. It feels like that's going to be difficult for him to accomplish in this spot.
I believe his main pace competition will come from the number 7, He's Bankable, a gate-to-wire winner twice in stakes races earlier this year, including one over this course and distance. Now, we have not seen this horse in over 6 months. He should be fresh. He's probably going to be raring to go out of the gate. Julien Leparoux, you know, he's a patient jockey, but this horse ran really well into Leparoux on the lead at Tampa Bay, and I think He's Bankable is going to be on ascend. I think he's got a shot to at least spice up the single race exotics, and I'm looking forward to see what he does down the road.
Yeah, but you feel like he's going to be fresh speed in this race. We haven't seen him since the beginning of June in the Penn Mile, which turned out to just be a disaster for him. He stopped badly in that race, but his prior 2 efforts on turf were both pretty good, and he ran figures in those races that suggest he might be able to go with these horses, especially if he's improved during his time off.
We've talked about Sniper Kitten, the number 1, before we came on air, and how he might have some excuses and how he might be dirtied up coming into this race. He draws a great post position, should get the right pace scenario. After winning the Mystic Lake Derby at Canterbury Park, he's caught 3 off-turf courses. He was probably overmatched in the first place in the Secretariat. I didn't love the wide trip against the slow pace he got in the Caesars, and I just think he did not handle the bog in the Grade 3 Commonwealth turf. But he was 4-1 against graded stakes types last time out. He gets a drop, and it'll be double the price, at least on the morning line.
Yeah, excuses are easy enough to come by for this horse for his last 3 races, and it just feels like he just might be a horse who's ultimately in a much better spot this time from a really good post and likely catching firm ground for the first time since he won that Mystic Lake Derby. There it's not that hard to make a case for this horse, and I think you're right. I think it'll be a fair price in this race, a horse I want to be using somewhere.
Are we simply overthinking things? The last time the 12 Roses Vision stepped foot on the track, he won the Better Talk Now at Saratoga, defeating Have At It, a horse that came back to win the Grade 2 Hill Prince with an 89 buyer, and then ran second in the Grade 2 Twilight Derby at Santa Anita with a 91 buyer. Now, he got a nice trip in that race.
Yeah.
He has a bad post here, and he's been away for a while.
Yeah, all those things I think really work against him, too. He's obviously a good horse on his best day. The difference for him here might just be that he's out in post 12, and I don't know what kind of trip he's going to get then. He won the Better Talk Now. It was a quality win for him last time, but things couldn't have gone better for him there. I mean, he got a perfect trip right up at the inside. Have At It's a really nice horse. Have At It also ran a better race than he did last time. This horse just happened to get the victory.
Speaking of Have At It, Sam Dancer, the number 13, gave Have At It all he could handle 2 starts back in that aforementioned Hill Prince Stakes. He utilized a run-and-gun style that I think suits this horse best. The problem is he's outside of several other quality speeds, and I just think it's unlikely that he'll make an easy lead, let alone the lead at all. It's a tough spot, but you love the Tim Hills barn.
Yeah, I do like this trainer, and I like this horse too. He's a real hard trying horse. He's not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but he's pretty good. He shows up, he runs every time. I don't think he can get the right trip in this race, Dan, but I'll tell you what, if he gets himself into position in the stretch, he's going to fight you every step of the way.
Another horse in good form on the far outside, the 14 Silent Citizen, another bad post. I think Manny Cruz just breaks, drops towards the inside, hopes for a fast pace, and hopes for some luck. He pulled off a 20-1 upset last time out at Gulfstream Park West going a mile, and that was a similar situation. He got pace that day.
He did get a pace to run into, and he really finished well in that race to get up at the end. This race might set up similarly for him, but it's a tougher spot. There are better horses in this field, and he's got an awful post position.
I'm not going to sleep on the 5 looking to strike. He has won on the turf in the past, although he's done most of his damage on synthetic surfaces. He's won 4 of his last 5 races, the one loss coming on turf, but it was over a good turf course.
Yeah.
I like the way he won the Ontario Derby. I think that Curlin's Honor has some potential for next year for Mark Casse. Last time out in the OBS Sprint, it wasn't a strong field. I don't think he got a great trip, and he rolled on home, and 6 furlongs I think is way too short for him.
Yeah, he kicked hard in that race. That was a nice performance. I'm a little put off by his only turf race, since this horse has come back at the end of June and really upped his game in his recent starts. All of those wins on synthetic, though. The one turf start in there, boy, that was an ugly performance. He basically got loose on the lead in there. When they came for him, he didn't put up any kind of fight at all. That concerns me. On the other hand, he broke his maiden on turf, and he beat Rose's Vision that day. Rose's Vision looks like a contender in here, so I could go either way on this horse. He's a good price on the line. If he stays around that price or goes higher than that, I'm going to use him somewhere.
What happened to Renaissance Frolic last time out? He just didn't fire in the showing up stakes. There was a good pace for him to attack, and he didn't pick his feet up. Could it simply be a case of a horse that hates Gulfstream West and is getting back to his preferred surface?
I mean, if you want to, make an excuse for him, I guess you have to sort of do that kind of thing. He's going to be a big price in this race, so I don't think it really matters either way. If you like him and you feel like you have an excuse for the last race, you got to be using this horse at a price.
Third start back for the 8 Ambassador Jim, a horse that got the pace last time out at Gulfstream going a mile and an eighth, and he passed some horses after a wide bid on the turn. Yeah. I think he's in sneaky good form. I think these horses might be a bit too tough for him.
I felt the same way about him. I've liked this horse since the beginning of his career back in New York, and I feel like he's okay. I just feel like he might be in a tough spot here.
We haven't seen Golden Dragon since April. It was a tough spot back then. He was 178-1 in the Transylvania Stakes against Analyzer, who ran 5 times without winning, but earned buyers between 96 and 100 in all of those races. You can draw a line through that race. They put him in some very tough spots in his career. I need to see one off the bench.
Yeah, this horse is no stranger to running in tough spots. For him, he's in another one here.
First time turf for the 10 Deputy Czar going out for Chuck Simon. Tapizar not known for success with first-time turf runners, only 7% winners. The Dam was 0 for 3 on the turf, foaled one sibling to this horse that did not win. But if you go way back in the family, there's a lot of European turf influences. I'm not sure it's enough in a field like this, but this horse at least has some tactical speed.
Yeah, he's run some good races on the main track. If we're off the turf for some reason, I guess you want to take a second look at this horse. He's in tough on the grass.
I Have a Jedi completes the field. That's the number 2. This is a horse that tried dirt last time out. Back on the turf where he probably is his preferred surface, but I just think he's kind of reached his plateau in the mid to upper 70s. He's going to have to run faster to win this race.
He looks like one of the longest shots on the board in here.
Top pick for the Tropical Park Derby to conclude the Saturday card at Gulfstream. You're going with the 4, breaking the rules for Shug McGahee. 4-1 on the morning line, beautifully beautifully bred son of Warfront.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to get 4-1 on him. His turf races are too good. They look like they make him a real contender in here. I really like his turf form, though.
I'm going to go with the 11 Therapist. I've been waiting for him to run, as Mike alluded to earlier in the video. Listen, the weather just has not cooperated. I trust Christophe Clement off the layoff. Now it's up to Gaffalione to work a trip from post 11. Mike's going 4, 1, 11, and 5. I'm going 11, 4, 5, and 14 in the $75,000 Tropical Park Derby. It's a race you can play with a new DRF Bets account. When you sign up at bets.drf.com, you'll receive a 300% deposit match. Approximate post time for the Tropical Park Derby, 5:12 Eastern. Best of luck.